Welcome to 0 to 60. I'm your host, Matt McChesney, coming to you from the lab down here at 60 Football Academy. Sorry we're a little late here this morning. I had to just finish up with a group in there that was struggling putting on Velcro, so that was interesting. But like I said, today is Wednesday, and we are rolling on 0 to 60, and we have a great guest for you today. The head coach at Northeastern College, Northeastern University, however you want to say it, out there in Oklahoma, Mr. Darrin Chiaverini, Coach Darrin Chiaverini, will be joining us here on the show to talk all things ball, how things are going in his neck of the woods, and so much more. Northeastern State football is a two-time national champion. They hired coach after last offseason. Obviously, Coach Chiaverini is a great buff and been coaching forever. And it's going to be great to have him on the show and talk some shop. So he'll be on here shortly. Again, the head coach at Northeastern State University, Darrin Chiaverini, will be joining us here on 0 to 60 to talk about a lot today in the world of sports. So all that said, let's take care of a little business here before we get started. Big thanks to Bree Macis being behind the ones and twos back there. But as always, the show's brought to you by our good friends at Bet Online, your number one source for the NBA and NHL playoffs this season. Every stat, every matchup, and every live odd while the game is being played. When the game's over, head over to our online casino and get your game back on the blackjack or poker online with one of the 150 slot games that they have. You can head to the website today and get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online. The game starts here, and we roll here on 0 to 60. So, look, like the stream, like everything on Twitch, the subs and the super chats are open for the Nick and Logan Shoe Fund. Nick's going into high school. We got to go. I'm going to his graduation tonight. So there's going to be a lot of shoes on deck for the big guy. So Nick and Logan Shoe Fund is open, and we're rolling. We appreciate all the contributions there to take it seriously. YouTube and Twitch, make sure you go like and subscribe. Trying to get that Twitch feed off the ground. The YouTube feed is blowing up right now. Appreciate all the support. Before we get started here with Coach Shiv, he'll be joining us here shortly. I just want to throw some love to my guy, Cole Taylor. Cole Taylor's from Grand Junction High School, and if you see here, PFF has him the second highest rated tight end in the Big 12. Returning next year, he was second team All Big 12 last year. He's going to be a great draft pick next year, first, second, third round, some in that area. From Grand Junction High School, went to LSU, and then transferred to West Virginia, was second team All Big 12 last year. So giving a little love to one of the Dungeon family guys that's out here balling, Cole Taylor from West Virginia. So big love there. Get a little clap it up for the big guy. Cole's an unbelievable talent, guy that was in the distance program and went from Grand Junction to LSU. The SEC loves this room, bro. So it's never a shock when they find a good player. From Tyler Riddle, what's up, Big Matt? That kid was a beast. He sure was and sure is. You said is, I said was. There's so many good players in the state of Colorado. So many guys that get overlooked, and thankfully Cole wasn't one of them. Carson Lee also played with Cole over in Junction, and he had to transfer to Creek to actually, make sure he got recruited the right way. Also in the program, the starting center up at Eastern Michigan. So big ups to Cole Taylor for all he's accomplished and all he's doing out there. As we wait for Coach Chiaverini here to come on the show, I'm going to talk to him about Shiloh a little bit, but just get his perspective on how he would handle this. I wanted to talk about this before we get started, just with the group before Coach comes on. The Shiloh Sanders thing we were just talking about on Coach JB's show. All right, the young man had a $12 million ruling go against him in a lawsuit where he apparently assaulted an employee of the school. I don't know what happened. No one does. It happened in 2015. I've heard rumors like Dion bought the security tape footage, and there's all these rumors and narratives going around. It's crazy. All that said, this is a bad look. It's coming out on CU's watch, so people think it happened under, CU's eyes and guidelines, and it didn't. But at the same time, it is coming out under Coach Prime's watch, and it's one of his sons. And I'm more concerned on why it wasn't taken care of in the last 9 years. Why let it get to this point where it's being nationally broadcasted and talked about? And I don't feel bad for Shiloh. He put himself in this situation. But at the same time, is it a money grab? Is this guy trying to get something out of the Sanders and the family? Is it, is it something more than just what it looks like from a bird's eye view? So you never want to be claiming bankruptcy in college. I mean, I almost had to do it because I got sued for downloading music, but it's a different road to go down. I am a bona fide internet pirate. Don't let anybody tell you different. I almost had to claim bankruptcy because I didn't have any money, and they wanted like $1,500 a song, and I had like 4,000 songs because all my boys downloaded music. It wasn't just them, it was me too. But I guess I almost had to do it for that reason. But this situation is a bad situation for CU. It's a bad situation for Shiloh, and I'm interested to see how it works out. I wonder, and maybe the chat can get in on this before we bring Coach on. I wonder if his name was Shiloh Jackson, if he would still be on the team, or if he would have been asked to maybe go to the transfer portal, or if they would have had some kind of administrative leave to put him on to figure this out. I understand it happened 9 years ago, 10 years ago, but it's also being, projected to the media as if it happened recently, and it is happening on CU's watch. He's in a CU uniform in the graphic that they put up. So everything is interwoven here, and it's definitely a situation where there's definitely some shit being thrown at the fan, and it's coming back. So look, it is what it is. It is my pleasure now to have Factor Meals bring you our football talk here on 0 to 60. They do a great job of supporting the show. Make sure you go check out Factor. The promo code is FACTOR-SE48328, and they're going to bring you our talk today with a man that is not only a great friend of mine, but a guy who I looked up to so much when I was growing up and going to the University of Colorado, one of the all-time greats to wear black and gold. And a guy who really left his heart and soul on the field out there in Folsom, was a draft pick by the Cleveland Browns, played for a handful of years in the National Football League, and then got into coaching and has coached everybody from Patrick Mahomes to Laviska Shenault, and has held many different hats in the coaching arena, and now is the head coach at Northeastern State University out in Oklahoma, D2 program that he's surely going to build into a powerhouse. The head coach at Northeastern State, Mr. Darrin Chiaverini, joining us here on 0 to 60. Coach, bro, you look good. Look at you. Bitch. How you doing?
What's up, man? How we doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's really good to hear your voice and see your face. I like the burner. Looking good. Yeah, keeping the mustache going. I dig it.
I got it going, man. Going, man. I got my summer.
So look, first of all, how are things going out there? I know you hit the ground running, and I'm following everything you guys are doing on social media, and it looks like guys are working hard and really buying into what you're trying to get going out there at Northeastern. Just tell us about your vision a little bit and how excited you are about this, brother.
It's been a total sprint since I got hired in January, to assemble a staff, kind of build our coaching staff, and then get on the road recruiting. We basically had about 4 weeks to put together our first recruiting class, which was a really dynamic class built of players from Oklahoma and Texas, California, Utah, Arkansas. Feel really good about this first class, but it's been, this program's the total rebuild. But we've done a lot of good work here these first couple months. Been on the job about 5 months, and had a full spring football. Hit the ground running with recruiting in May. Our staff was on the road for about 4.5 weeks. We just got back in the office this week, and now we're getting ready for our summer camps, and then we're going to kick off our summer conditioning program on Monday. We're going to have about 60 players that are going to be reporting on Monday to go with the 25 returners, so about 85 players that will be on campus here in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And looking forward to having a 7-week summer program with our players to do introduce our installations on offense and defense and special teams. So we'll be working basically, they'll be having meetings in the morning. We'll have football school, kind of going through our installations. Then they'll have what we call our PRPs, which are player run practices on the field. And then they'll lift in the afternoon. So it's a full 7 weeks, man, getting ready for a college football schedule here coming up in September. And just been excited, man. Obviously, just as, taking over another program, another rebuild, but excited to be the head football coach and going to build this thing in something special. So it's been a lot of work, Matt, but very rewarding in the same sense, man.
Amen to that. And look, you can follow Coach Shiv on Twitter. He's a great follow. Make sure you go support it, Coach Shiv6. And make sure you go follow Northeastern at NSU_football. They're building a powerhouse out there in Oklahoma. Coach, you just talked about you got 25 guys there. That sounds like a low number, but then you got 45 coming in. That fills the ranks. Is it easier or harder in the transfer portal era, in your opinion, to build a consistent team? And how do you feel about it now, being a head coach of a D2 program and seeing, the guys that are maybe moving down and guys that are moving up? It could be a pit stop for some kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's twofold. I mean, at the end of the day, as you know, Matt, you've been on a lot of football teams, not only in college football, but in pro football. It still comes down to the team. And, us as football coaches and myself as the head football coach, it's my job to establish the culture for our program. But eventually it's the players' job to take over and enforce the culture of the program. And so, I'm building our program basically on 4 principles. First and foremost, we're going to recruit you, whether it's from junior college, whether it's from high school, or whether it's from the transfer portal. We're going to recruit you. Okay. The second thing we need to do is we need to retain you. I think what's going on right now in college football, there's not enough retention. Okay. People are looking for the quick fixes. They're looking for instant success. And that's not the reality in life. It's not the reality in college football. And, us as a coaching staff, we have to, if we're going to recruit these players to our campus, it is our job to retain them. We have to build a culture that our players can enforce and they feel like they're welcome in our program. And then the third principle of our program is we got to develop them. You got to be able to recruit, you got to be able to retain, and you got to develop. And then the fourth thing, it has not changed. Even though that we're in this world of NIL and we're in this world of the transfer portal, players need to graduate. There's not enough players that are graduating from college and getting degrees that they're going to transfer into in their real life. Because as we know, I mean, I played in the NFL, you played in the NFL, Matt. From the 99% of these guys, it ain't going to happen. And you can be a good football player. It's not going to happen. So us as the adults in the room, we got to do a better job of educating our players that, yes, we're going to chase that dream. But while we're chasing that dream, we're going to retain you. We're going to develop you. We're going to make sure you're on track to graduate with a degree that you're passionate about. And we want to make sure that you can get into your master's program so you have something that can further your education. So when football's done, it's going to end for all of us. I was 27 when it ended for me. But I have 2 degrees. I have my bachelor's degree in communication from University of Colorado, but also have my master's degree in sports sciences. And so I think it's important that we educate the young people of this world that, yes, we're going to chase professional football. For the majority of you, it's not going to happen. So what is the plan? We got to make sure we have a plan in place. And right now, I think with NIL, everybody's chasing the bag right now. And even those guys that are chasing the bag, here's the interesting thing about college football right now, is that some of these guys are going to make more money in college than they're going to make in the real world. Because what's going to happen is they're going to sign an NIL deal in college and make, $1 million and make $250,000 to $500,000, and then they're not going to get drafted, and then they got to figure out life. And so, how do you educate that kid who's been making $300,000 to $400,000 to $500,000 in college? We know how hard it is to make money, and then they don't have a college degree, they don't have a pro career. They made all this money in college that they spent on cars and clothes and all these business ventures, but they're not educated for real world and life experiences. And that's our job as coaches. That's our job as the adults in the room to help young people develop. And so I'm not going to lose sight of what my job is as a head coach. Yes, we got to win games, but we got to develop young men for life after football.
Man, that is absolute fire right there. Recruit, retain, develop, and then graduate. That's the way they're doing it at Northeastern State under Coach Shiv. And brother, that's the way it's supposed to be done. That's the model. So you bring up a really great point that you're getting these guys ready for life after football. And most of them, even the guys who are blessed like you and I to go to the NFL and have our bests and be in that situation. I wish I could have played longer. So do you. All that money we could have made, blah, 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 right? everybody thinks they're going to stay in it forever. And then all of a sudden you're 27. I was 28 and it's like, fuck, it's done. So you bring up a good point. Your son went to Valor Curtis, obviously great player there, went to CU and played for you up there, and then got into coaching. And I've been watching his journey as he's gone through this. What advice, would you give what advice did you give your son when he was like, maybe should I grad transfer somewhere and go play, or should I go coach? What road should I go down, Dad? Obviously the love for football was there. What's the advice you gave him in that regard when chasing? Because there's so many different avenues involved, brother.
Yeah.
Stay in the game. And that was obviously the correct avenue for him. And he's going to be a great coach because of it if he's not already.
Yeah, I mean, I told my son this. I mean, when we talked about his journey from Valor Christian to the University of Colorado, I told him this is going to be a tough move for you, man. Division I college football is the best of the best. I said, but what you can do is you can come to Colorado, get a great education, play big time college football, and get a chance to see the back inner workings of college football and how it works as far as coaching, how it looks as far as scripting practice, developing game plans, understanding practice structure, understanding, what the game structures are for coaches. So Curtis was on an accelerated growth as far as a coach. I mean, he played for 3 years at University of Colorado, and then I remember he came in my office. He's like, Dad, I really want to be a coach, and I really want to transition from being a player to a coach. And I said, well, you can take the next couple of years of your eligibility. Instead of playing, you can be my student intern at the University of Colorado. And that's what he did. He was a student coach for 2 years, work with me, handle a lot of stuff that I wanted him to handle as far as understanding how coaches operate on a day-to-day basis, understanding how we practice, understand how we script practice, understand how we set up the practice structure. And, then, I told him, I said, it's not going to be easy. The life of a coach is very, very hard. And you're going to be having to take jobs that's the only job you got. And you got to go and do the best job you can. And I tell people all the time, and I told Curtis the same thing, the best job you can do is work as hard as you can at the job you have right now. Because if you do that, the next job will come. But if you're always worried about the next best thing, if you're always looking about what am I going to do next, you're never going to be good enough because you're not going to concentrate on where you're at right now. And so he's been good about that, man. He's after he interned for me at Colorado, he went and he was the analyst for Coach McCaffrey at Northern Colorado. Yep. And then he was there for a year, and then he was on Keith Patterson's staff at Abilene Christian as a graduate assistant. And then I hired him in January as our quarterback coach. And he's done a great job with our players. Awesome. Done a great job just kind of being my right-hand guy because, I'm the head football coach, but I also run the offense here at Northeastern State, just like I did at Chaffee College. And it's something that I believe that, especially in college football in today's day and age, I feel like a head coach, if he's not going to be the CEO and kind of oversee things, then he needs to be in charge of his group. And that's one thing that I take a lot of pride in. Here at Northeastern State, just like I did at Chaffee last year, we had a great season, went undefeated, went 11-0, averaged over 40 points a game, one of the top offenses in junior college football in California. And man, it's been a great journey for my family, but also, I wanted to take jobs like this so I can show people not only can I be a head football coach, but I can run the offense that I want to run.
Right.
And no one can dictate and tell me, hey, you can and can't do this. And I've been in those positions before as a coordinator. Yep. Man, it's one of the most humbling experiences to not be in control of your own destiny. And, after my experience at the University of Colorado, the last couple of years, I was like, man, never again am I going to let another man dictate my future, dictate my destiny. And so I took it on my own hands and went back down and kind of been building my resume as a head football coach and a play caller. And, we'll get this program going and good things will come from that.
No doubt. The head coach at Northeastern State University, Darrin Chiaverini, joining us here on 0 to 60 on the Believe Network. I'm your host, Matt McChesney, as always. Coach, look, college football is changing rapidly. I can't even keep up with all the changes on a day-to-day basis. Now the schools can just pay the players, and they're talking about unionizing and so on and so forth. And I've been talking about trying to, the best way to do a union for years, and a lot of people have, but I don't think just any guy can do it. I don't think I could go out and be the union president. I don't think just some player I saw the Bernard Copeland or somebody he played for a while trying to get a union off the ground. I don't know if they necessarily need to unionize, but I'm sure they will. How does that look to you as a head coach? Would you want a guy like Nick Saban or Pete Carroll as the head of the players union to kind of like guide them and help them? Or do we need a player, a guy that did it? Like, how do you think that the unionization of college football is going to go moving forward, Coach?
Well, I mean, I think if they're going to head that way and they're going to unionize, college athletics, I think what's going to end up having to happen is that pretty much with football and maybe basketball is that they're going to break away from the school. I mean, it's almost going to be, if you're going to unionize and make these student athletes employees, and that's where it's kind of headed. I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be a separation between athletics and academics. There has to be, because now you're talking about a business of unionizing and having contracts, but also going to school and being a student. I don't know if those two can coexist in the model they're trying to head towards, because really what you're talking about basically minor league football. That's what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
They're paying these kids money, and who knows where the money's coming from right now, collectives and backdoor deals. They're trying to get it more streamlined to where the schools have a salary cap and everything's working through the school. And so they can have a budget line and they're managing this money. But now you're talking about unionizing and having contracts, having 3-4 year contract deals. Well, there's a conflict of interest with academics, so it's almost going to have to break off. And it's almost going to be like these Power 4 schools are going to be in this model to where it's almost like, I don't know if going to school is going to be part of it. It's going to end up being like, okay, they're contracted employees. This is what they're making. And if they choose to go to school, they can. Is that the model we want? I don't think so. I think now that you've gotten to a point where these guys are making millions of dollars, they're making more than a lot of the assistants, they're making more than some of the, probably making close to what some of the head coaches are making, the top guys, And so I think we're in kind of uncharted waters. I think what you're going to have to do, though, is that you're going to have salary caps. You're going to have, almost like a CBA, collective bargaining agreement between the schools and the players. But how does that fit into academics? I think we're getting lost about student athletes.
And that'd be the next question is, bro, I didn't even like college, but I'm glad I went. I got my degree on the wall over here. It means something. Like, if you just go to school to play football, I feel like you're wasting an opportunity to better yourself. Like, the thing about the NFL is there's a lot of downtime when you get to the league, right, Shiv? Like, you work out in the morning, you have a lot of time down, and then the football season hits, and you're obviously occupied that time. But the other 7 months of the year, like, you're just training and hanging out. If you had your degree, you're good, but most guys go back.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about young men. These are 17. I was 17 years old when I got to college.
Yep.
So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. That's what we're talking about. And we still got to develop these people as young men and develop them as young people. And it can't just be all about chasing the money. It can't. We have got to do a better job of educating and getting a system in place that works for everybody. Because right now, as we know, there's always been the haves and have-nots in college football, but now it's even more because, people were cheating back in the old days and they were doing the backdoor deals, but now these
$100 handshake.
Yeah, these deals are being done with collectives, which is basically legalized. It's just legalized cheating, what it is. And now we're talking about taking it out of the collectives' hands and putting it into the schools' hands because they want the donor money going back to the schools and not going to the collectives. That's why they're trying to do this. So they want that money getting out of the collectives and going back to the school so the school can dictate where the funds go. So, yeah, they can put in, whatever, $10 million to the salary cap, but also they want to probably navigate the money elsewhere, too, to build other things on campus and do with what they want to do with the money, which that's their prerogative. But I do think that's where it's headed. I think it's headed to where the Power 4 conferences are going to be separate from the NCAA. There's going to be a commissioner over the Power 4 conferences. There's going to be a CBA with the collective bargaining agreement with the players. And there's going to be salary caps and they're going to be employees. But what happens when the kid doesn't perform? Are you going to cut him? Well, now he's not a student no more. because that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. If we be honest, we're pushing guys out every year, right?
Oh yeah.
These programs are pushing guys out every year.
A lot of the transfer portal is just guys getting cut.
They're getting cut. They're getting told to leave. And again, it's wrong because we sit out with mom and dad in those living rooms and we tell them that we're going to take care of your son. And just because he misses a couple blocks or drops a couple passes, now we're not taking care of him no more.
Do you think that more players will gravitate to the group of 5, 1AA, D2 to have the college experience? Because I've talked to a lot of coaches about this. Coach Nady at South Dakota pretty much reiterated the same thing. We're selling the college experience to our guys that you can still develop. Northern Colorado, same thing. Even like Wyoming and CSU, Air Force is different because they're military academy, but those Boise, I was in there with Boise the other day talking about like, we can't really compete with the Power 5 teams money-wise, but we can provide a different model. Like if you want the college football experience, you might have to go group of 5, 1AA or D2 in order to obtain that and actually live one of the coolest things that ever happened to me, and I don't know if this experience was the same for you. I know you had some good coaches, but I had Coach Barnett and I had Coach Wilson all 5 years I was at CU. Like, they were consistent. My position coach and my head coach were the same. And that never happens anymore. So, but it could happen at the group of 5, 1AA or D2. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you think more people will gravitate to that, or is it all just going to be money, 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 money?
Well, I mean, right now, that's where it's at because there's so much money being made at the Division I level. And those Power 4 schools that are together right now with the TV contracts. And so in that era, it's about money. Let's be real. I mean, it's about what's the contract going to be? How much coach you going to give me? If I'm a top quarterback, they're getting over $1 million in the transfer portal right now. I'm sure high school kids are pretty close to that, you know, but I think the other levels, you got to go back to whatever your principles are for your program. You know, ours is recruiting, retention, development, and graduation. And we're going to work hard to make sure that we develop the whole athlete and not just the football player. You know, we want to make sure that they have those experiences, that they're in classrooms. They're not just taking online classes, that they're experiencing things outside of football to help them develop as young men and young people so they can be successful in life and not just football. And right now, that's not the case in Division I college athletics. It's about making money. And that's always been the business side of it for the schools, but now it is for the student athletes. And I never thought about that when I was coming out of Corona High School. When I was at Corona High School and I was a young 17-year-old player, I wanted to go to college, be the first person in my family to graduate from college and have a different experience. And then, man, luckily I was good enough to make it pro football and play, 5 or 6, 7 years. But, man, looking back on it, I look back on it now, man, how many guys did we play with, Matt, at the University of Colorado did not go pro? I mean,
they were great players.
Great players. Guys that were better than me.
Yeah.
Guys that were better than me that didn't make it.
Way better than me that never played.
Never played. And so I think we have to do a better job of the retention aspect. I mean, there's over 4,000 players in the transfer portal that will never play football again. 4,000 players in the transfer portal that will never play football again, and their aid's been cut off, and they're not going to graduate. And what do? We sat in their living rooms and told mom and dad we're going to take care of them, and now there's 4,000 of them in the transfer portal.
Just sitting there.
That they're never going to play, and they're not going to graduate.
And it's a disgruntled group too. I mean, like they're mad, and social media now is giving them a voice, and it's an ugly part of the game that I didn't really anticipate. Even 10 years ago, I didn't think it would go down this road. No. Hey, a couple more questions here for you before we get you out of here, Coach. I know you're a busy man. Look, you're a proud Buff. You're captain there. Obviously you went in the 5th round to Cleveland in 99. And, you coached there, and there's a ton of pride there. I wanted to ask you about Shedeur. You there? Cool.
I'm here.
I wanted to ask you about Shedeur being, as this is your wheelhouse. You're an offensive guy. You're an OC, a quarterback coach. This is what you do. So, coaching Patrick Mahomes with Kingsbury out there at Texas Tech. Your opinion on this is, I don't know if I could ask somebody more qualified. So I seem to think that Shedeur is a pretty special player. I question some of the off the field stuff, but again, it's kind of the machine that everyone's in right now, and he just happens to be holding the fiddle, not playing it. So give me your opinion on Shedeur Sanders. You think all the hype is real? Is he a first-round talent the way everybody thinks he is?
I mean, I love him as a player. I mean, I didn't know much about Shedeur until I watched him play last year at Colorado. I mean, I watched a little bit of his Jackson State stuff, and I watched a little bit of him from high school. But I was really blown away with his ability to create, off-schedule plays where things weren't there right away, so we had to create and buy some time and get out of some trouble. I think Shedeur is extremely talented, man. I really do, and I'm interested to see. With the OC change of how it affects his game, how it helps his game, how it hinders his game. Because a thing with like Shedeur is you want the ball in his hands, and you want to have him have the ability to create consistently, play in and play out. I think sometimes when you make the transition to more of a pro style offense, kind of more of a ground and pound play action kind of an offense, you better have the horses around you that can play just as well as you. I think what allows like a spread system or a system that's more open, if you have a top quarterback, you can score points, even if you're not as talented in other areas. That's why the spread was invented. The spread was invented to create space, to put skill in space and allow them to eat up yardage and score points to give you a chance to win on Saturdays. And I think when you close offenses up, if you're not built like Georgia, or you're not built like Ohio State, or you're not built like Michigan, where you can really lean on people on 12 and 21 personnel because you don't have those horses in the trenches, it puts a lot of pressure on that quarterback, And so I think he's a first round talent. I think he's extremely talented. If he would have came out this year, he would have been in that mix of those top quarterbacks getting drafted high. I think it's going to come down to where his draft position ends up is how well he plays this year. This is year 2. It's a new system. I know Coach Shermer was there last year, but it's a new system. It's going to be new checks. It's going to be, new personnel around him. I'm hoping that he gets protected a little bit better. I thought he took way too many hits last year, but some of that fell on Shedeur too. Sometimes you got to throw the ball away. Sometimes you got to throw the ball away. I'm sure he knows that, but I'm a fan. I love the Buffs, man. That's my school. I still bleed, black and gold, man. And I'll always have a place in my heart for Colorado. I'm rooting for him, man. I'm rooting for Coach Prime to see if they can turn the corner. I'm interested to see how it works out because I thought last year was a huge experiment with all the new players coming into the program. But then also this year, there's been a lot of new players coming to the program.
Almost more turnover this year than last year.
I was interested about that because at the end of the day, and Coach Prime knows this, at the end of the day, it comes down to culture. It comes down to the players in that locker room. How much do they believe in each other? How much do they lean on each other? And how much do they trust each other? And when you have an influx of new players all the time, consistently, it's hard to get into that rhythm. It usually takes 4, 5, 6 games before you get into that rhythm. And as a college football season, we know you're waiting 5 or 6 games, man. It's hard. But I'm rooting for him, man. Yeah. I'm rooting for him. I really am. Man, I still love Boulder, man. That's a special place to me as a player. And as a coach, man, I'm wishing CU nothing but the best, man. I'm hoping that the big – and I also believe this. I think going back to the Big 12 was a great move.
Great move.
And my belief, we never should have left the Big 12. That was where CU deserved to be. The old Big 8, the Big 12, that was us. And so I never really kind of identified with the Pac-12 as much. Even when I was there as a coach, I always felt like, man, we should be back in the Big 12. So I'm excited to see them play those games. And man, rooting for Coach Prime and Shedeur. And Shedeur's going to do his thing, man. The kid's talented and they got some skill around him. I'm hoping they can protect him a little better, Matt.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually going to be working with one of their big offensive linemen that just transferred in from Clemson, reached out to me this morning, wants to start coming in. So pick his brain and see what they're looking like there. I wanted to give your opinion on Travis Hunter, bro. Like, I've never seen, as a guy who practiced both ways, like I never played in the game at center guard and then played 50 snaps and nose tackle. That sounds insane to me. But this cat, watching him last year, I was dumbfounded. Like TCU game, I was shocked, and the UCLA game, like just blown away on how athletic and how his mindset, everything seems to just be synced in. Like he's the perfect football player, dude. Like, would you want him at receiver or DB? And then just elaborate on what you watch when you see this guy play. It's like a generational thing. It's like watching first time that Lawrence Taylor stepped on the field with the Giants, and all the coaches were like, "Holy God, we gotta make a defense for this guy." That's what I think Travis Hunter is. He's special.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. I mean, he's a top 10 talent. There's no question about that. I think to answer your question about where do you play him more snaps, I think he could be a full-time receiver and be an All-American. You know, he could be a full-time DB and be an All-American. I think where Colorado and Coach Prime have got to make those decisions is how many snaps do we actually play this kid on offense? Because he's a shutdown corner. You know, I almost feel like you should build packages for him on offense so that when he is in the game, he's either getting the ball or he's the decoy. So they don't know exactly he's going to get the ball. So you build, 15 to 20 snaps a game where he's getting his 7 or 8 touches. Because if he gets 7 or 8 touches, he's probably going to score on 2 of them, But if he's playing 40, 50, 60 snaps on offense, man, you're depleting him on defense. And I think that showed up a couple times last year where he played so many snaps on offense. He's so dynamic, but he's running and he's using energy, but then he has to go on defense and cover the best receiver on their offense. And as we know with Division I college athletics, those number 1 receivers on every team are really good. And so to me, I think you put a snap count on him on offense, 15 to 20 snaps. He's going to make sure he gets his 7, 8, 9 touches on offense. Hopefully he scores 2 or 3 touchdowns, but then to me, he plays corner and he shuts down the number 1 guy every game. And that's what that guy's going to be a top pick in next year's draft. I mean, he's athletically, he's as good as it gets. You see him jump out the gym. You see he's got great instincts on defense. He knows how to read quarterbacks, knows how to jump routes. And then he put the ball in his hands on offense. He's dynamic. But at the end of the day, if you're playing 180 snaps, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are.
Much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
You're getting hurt if you do that too much.
You're gonna get hurt. And so, I think the kid's phenomenal. I mean, I think Coach Prime's done a great job with them. So is Coach Mathis. I know those guys, man. And I'm excited to watch him play. I really am.
Coach, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show today. The head coach at Northeastern State University out there in Oklahoma, Coach Darrin Chiaverini, joining us. Great buff. Former 5th-round pick of the Cleveland Browns and longtime NFL wide receiver. Coach, go have a great season, brother. All the best to you and your family. And, keep the party going, dude. I'm telling you, it's just a matter of time before, you're donning the sidelines at one of these Power 5 schools and, climbing this ladder. And the way you've done it, it's inspiring, dude. Like, I'm telling you, I understand how much it hurt to go through what you did, and then for you to climb this ladder the way you are, it inspires a lot of us. We see it, but then just the spine, the backbone, the heart you have, bro. It's awesome. I love you, Coach, and you keep it up, dude.
Love you too, brother. I appreciate you, man. And there's no question, man. I mean, whenever you get fired from your alma mater, man, it's not a good feeling. But,
no, it hurts.
The one thing that it was good for me is that it just made me say, you know what? Never again am I going to let someone else dictate my future. Yeah. And I just bet on myself and went down. I'm going to work my way up the right way. I'm going to run the offense the way I know it's supposed to be run. And we're going to score points the way I know it's supposed to be scored. And we're going to play good football. We're going to build a great culture. We're going to develop players on and off the field. And we're going to graduate these student athletes, man. We owe that to them as adults. We owe that to them too as coaches that have been through this profession.
One of the best in the business, Coach Darrin Chiaverini. Coach, have a great day, brother. All the best to you and your family. We'll talk soon.
All right. Love you, brother. See you, man.
Later, homie. What an interview. Coach Chiv is always just on top of his shit. I mean, just incredible. The head coach at Northeastern State University out there in Oklahoma, D2 program, was at Caffey College last year, went undefeated. And I'll elaborate a little bit on that. Coach got a lot of blame and a lot of fingers pointed at him when he really didn't have as much control as people thought he did. And he got a lot of, he was integral in recruiting a lot of guys that are in the NFL that played in Boulder under his watch. And he was, integral in a lot of those really good teams that were in Boulder. The 3 years they went 5-7, I thought they were a really good football team with a lot of talent. They just couldn't get over the hump. The 1 year they started 5-0 for God's sakes and lost 7 straight. So just a great interview with Coach Chiv. Make sure you go out and support Northeastern State. Go follow him on Twitter. Follow the school. They're going to put up big time points this year. Do not be surprised at all if Coach Chiv is patrolling the sidelines at, to one of these Group of 5, one of these Power 5 schools here very shortly. He's one of the best in the business. Make sure you go check out everything at Factor. Make sure you go check out everything at Bet Online. Make sure you go check out everything at 60 Equipment. Oklahoma, SMU. We just dropped a couple bags off at Ballard High School over here the other day. So the bags are selling like hotcakes, and we're really, really proud of that. So check them out. You can use the promo code McChesney. That's my last name, and you can get 2 for 1. I can't thank you enough for watching the show today and all the support to Bree Maces behind the scenes. Without you, none of this goes, and more than just the show. So big thanks to you. And then, look, the Shiloh thing, I was going to ask Coach Chiv about it, but why? It's not his school. He'd just be speculating. I hope it works out for this kid. I really do. I don't want Shiloh Sanders going bankrupt at fucking 21. That sucks, bro. But it needs to be rectified. And look, I read some of the comments saying how the lawyers are probably telling them not to comment on it. And you're probably right. They are. But sometimes you just have to get in front and let people know what's actually happening. And this is just a bad look. That's all. And it's not like anything I say it's going to make it worse or better. It's just what it is. So I hope that they can figure it out. I hope that it's something that can be rectified and the young man can be made whole. And the gentleman that got hurt, hopefully he can also be made whole. So we'll see what happens with all of that. All that said, great show. We will be back on again Friday, not tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm hitting the moving road, so I got to move my entire house tomorrow as we move the family. So like the stream on YouTube, on Twitch. Make sure you go subscribe. Super chats and subs are open. We appreciate anything for Nick and Logan Shoe Fund. We appreciate any and all support. And then Friday, I don't know if we're going to have a guest or not, but we'll see. I appreciate that. Michael Nicholas, appreciate you, bro. You also rock. I try and grind as hard as I can. And then look, next week, if you guys got any more suggestions or requests for guests, I know damn near everyone, so just let me know and I'll try and get them on and we'll roll. So I'm Matt McChesney. Thanks to Bree Maces behind the scenes on the 1s and 2s. Thanks to Coach Darrin Chiaverini for coming on the show today and all he does over there at Northeastern State University. So go check out everything we do at 60, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, everything. So go check it out. We're rolling off tomorrow. We'll be back Friday. And like always, go Buffs.